AI that can hack any device on the planet. Not in theory. Not in a lab. In practice, on real software, real operating systems, real browsers you're using right now. Anthropic built it, then said it was too dangerous to release. The US Pentagon called the company a national security risk. Then the NSA quietly started using it themselves. Here's the part nobody is talking about. This thing wasn't supposed to exist. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what that means for you. What is Claude Mythos? On April 7, 2026, Anthropic made an announcement that broke the AI industry. They introduced something called Claude Mythos Preview, alongside a $100 million initiative called Project Glasswing. But here's the thing. They didn't release it to you. They didn't release it to the public at all. Instead, about 50 organizations got access. Only 12 were named publicly. Apple, Google, Microsoft, JP Morgan, banks, tech giants, intelligence agencies. Everyone else, including you and me, got a 244-page document. 244 pages describing what this model can do. For a model we can't use. Now, why would you publish a 244-page report on something you're not releasing? Because what they found was too important to bury, and too dangerous to ignore. But here's where it gets strange. Nobody trained this thing to be dangerous. It just became dangerous on its own. Let's talk about what Mythos actually did. Because this is where the story gets genuinely jaw-dropping. Anthropic's red team gave Mythos one job: find vulnerabilities. Real ones. In real software. It found thousands of them. Across every major operating system. Every major web browser. Vulnerabilities that human security researchers had simply never found. And here is the number that should stop you cold. At the time of announcement, over 99% of those vulnerabilities were still unpatched. Your phone, your laptop, the browser you're watching this on, right now, today. There's a very good chance Mythos has already found a hole in it, and no one has fixed it yet. The 5 technical jaw droppers. Let's get specific. Because vague hype is easy. Specifics are where this story earns its weight. Number 1. The 4 vulnerability chain. Mythos didn't just find a single bug in a browser. It found 4 separate bugs, and then figured out how to chain them together into a single working exploit. It wrote something called a JIT heap spray. That's a technique where you carefully flood a program's memory with your own code until it accidentally executes it. The result? It broke out of the browser sandbox. Then broke out of the operating system sandbox on top of that. That's not a vulnerability. That's a full system escape. No human had found this chain. Number 2. The 17-year-old bug. FreeBSD is an operating system known for its security. It's been audited by some of the best security researchers in the world for nearly 2 decades. Mythos found a critical vulnerability in it. In hours. 17 years. Thousands of expert eyes. One afternoon for an AI. Number 3. Linux privilege escalation, completely autonomous. On Linux, privilege escalation means gaining full control of a system. Root access. Every file. Every process. Everything. Mythos figured out how to do this by exploiting something called a race condition, a tiny timing gap in how the OS processes tasks, combined with bypassing a security feature called KSLR. No human guidance. No hints. It worked it out from scratch. Number 4. It works on software it's never seen the code for. The security industry has long operated on an assumption. If you hide the source code, you're safer. Closed source is a partial shield. Mythos shattered that assumption. It can find exploits in software even without reading the source code. Just from observing behavior. The last line of defense that proprietary software had, gone. And then Anthropic said something that I think is the most important sentence spoken in the AI industry in years. Number 5. Nobody built a hacking AI. One appeared. Let that land for a second. They were trying to build a better coding assistant. A more capable reasoning model. And somewhere in that process, a world-class offensive cybersecurity expert appeared inside the model. Unannounced. Uninvited. If dangerous capabilities can emerge as a byproduct of making AI smarter, what does that mean for every AI model you've already interacted with? It's the reason you'll want to watch to the end. The breach, the hypocrisy, the reckoning. Now, remember how this was the most restricted AI in history. Only 50 organizations. Handpicked. Vetted. Behind serious security protocols. Here's what happened on the actual launch day. Back in March 2026, 6 weeks before the announcement, someone at Anthropic made a mistake. Model naming conventions and deployment URL patterns were accidentally stored in a publicly accessible data cache. A Discord community that tracks unreleased AI models spotted it. They put the pieces together. They found a third-party vendor environment that had been granted access. They borrowed a contractor login. And on the same day Anthropic announced the world's most dangerous AI, a group of internet strangers was already using it. Not for 2 minutes. Not for an afternoon. For 2 weeks. They avoided offensive tasks. They were smart enough not to trigger detection. And they quietly used what might be the most powerful AI security tool ever built for free without permission for 14 days. Bloomberg broke the story on April 21st. And that's when things got really interesting. Anthropic confirmed the breach. Said there was no indication the activity extended beyond the third-party vendor. Which is technically reassuring, but the bigger point is this. The model that was too dangerous to release was accessed by randoms on its first day. The gap between restricted access and no access is apparently one borrowed login. Meanwhile, governments were moving fast. Dario Amodei, Anthropic CEO, met with senior Trump administration officials at the White House. At the same time, the Pentagon had declared Anthropic a supply chain risk, essentially flagging them as a national security concern. The NSA, using Mythos for cyber defense. The Pentagon, calling the company that built it a threat. Two arms of the US government. Opposite positions. Same AI. At the same time. That's not dysfunction. That's what it looks like when a technology arrives faster than policy can respond. And it was happening in real time. Now here's the part that's almost too perfect for a story about AI hubris. On April 21st, the same day the Bloomberg article ran, Sam Altman went on the Core Memory podcast. And he said this: "We have built a bomb. We are about to drop it on your head. We will sell you a bomb shelter for $100 million. You need it to run across all your stuff, but only if we pick you as a customer." Sam Altman on Anthropic's Mythos strategy. He was calling Anthropic's approach fear-based marketing, saying they were manufacturing danger to sell a solution. Fair critique maybe, until you see what OpenAI announced 4 days later. GPT 5.5 Cyber. A restricted AI cybersecurity model, available only to quote vetted critical cyber defenders. Identical. Strategy. The man who mocked the bomb shelter was selling his own bomb shelter within the week. You can call that hypocrisy. Or you can read it differently: if your fiercest competitor copies your strategy in 72 hours, maybe it was never just marketing. Maybe they were right. And the financial world was already drawing its own conclusions. Treasury Secretary Bessent convened the CEOs of Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, Bank of America, and Morgan Stanley in Washington. The topic: Claude Mythos and what it means for global banking security. The CEO of Barclays called Mythos a serious issue for global bank security. The U.S. Commerce Department formalized pre-deployment AI evaluation agreements with Google, Microsoft, and XAI, directly triggered by Mythos. The era of governments testing AI before it ships officially began. What this actually means? Here's the inspiring part. And I mean that genuinely, not as a spin, not as a palliative. Because for years, the security community has been running a race they were losing. Human researchers find vulnerabilities, but slowly, one at a time. A good team might uncover a handful of critical bugs in a year. Meanwhile, adversaries, criminal groups, state actors, ransomware gangs, they've been getting faster. Mythos changes the math. An AI that can find thousands of critical vulnerabilities, autonomously, across every major platform on closed-source software it's never seen before, that is the most powerful defensive security tool ever built. Think about that 17-year-old FreeBSD bug. For 17 years, that vulnerability existed. It could have been exploited, silently, by anyone sophisticated enough to find it. Mythos found it. It's been patched. That threat is gone. Multiply that by thousands. And here's what makes this the most important AI story of 2026, not the danger, the precedent. On May 5th, the US government formalized something that had never existed before. Pre-deployment evaluation agreements for AI models. Before the public sees them, the government stress tests them. For years, critics of AI said, someone needs to be checking these things before they're released. And for years, nothing happened. Mythos happened, and now there's a framework. Not because a regulator thought it up. Because an AI demonstrated capability so undeniable that governments had no choice but to respond. Meanwhile, Anthropic's valuation crossed $1 trillion, implied by secondary market trading, during a news cycle defined entirely by the phrase, too dangerous to release. The most dangerous AI story in history became the most valuable AI company story in history. And those two things aren't in contradiction, they're the same story. Because what Mythos represents isn't just a product. It's proof that AI has reached a level of capability that changes the terms of every industry it touches. Not gradually, immediately. Now here's the question I said we'd come back to. Anthropic said it plainly: they did not train Mythos to hack things. The capability emerged on its own, from general improvements in reasoning and code. Which means, we don't know what capabilities are hiding in the models that are already out there. The ones on your phone. The ones in your company's tools. The ones that were released without a 244-page red team report. That's not a reason to panic. It's a reason to pay attention. Because the researchers who built Mythos were trying to understand their model before the world encountered it. That's exactly what we should want AI labs to do. The question is, are they all doing it? Next video, we're going deep on the AI labs that haven't published their red team results. What we know, what we don't, and what that silence might mean. One question for the comments: if Mythos found thousands of vulnerabilities, and your devices are likely affected, would you want Anthropic to tell you specifically which ones? Or is that itself a security risk? Drop your answer below. I'll read every reply. And if you want to understand AI developments as they're actually happening, not 3 months later, subscribe. Because this story is moving fast and so is this channel.